we've got a few more minutes left, and I wanted to also ask the group about setting the stage. So when we first get into a meeting and we do, you do the warm welcomes, hello, everybody, yada, yada, yada. Okay, so we set the stage there with the warm welcomes. But how do you go about starting the conversation with the group and talking about this is a safe place? So we say that a lot. This is a safe place for everyone to contribute. This is a safe place to learn. How do we set the stage for what that means? Because what I see as a safe place may be different to Dawn, maybe different to Douglas, maybe different to Felice, maybe different to Todd, right? So I'm curious now, how do you go about setting the stage?
I'd say real quick that the subject that you're discussing is going to help define that, right? If I'm talking about some OSHA compliance stuff versus talking to teenagers about sexuality, much different setting your parameters, right?
Right.
So again, I go back to it's what environment are you creating for them to walk into, right? Is it staunch and stuffy? Is it we're going to talk at you? Is it going to be we're talking with you? If it's a softer subject, is your tone softer even, right? A little less animated, a little less energy, because not that it's going to be morose, but just, hey, we're talking, if you're talking to people about very sensitive subjects, you have to take it with a little more sensitive tone to, again, establish your initial kind of, I don't know, temperature zone feeling. I'm at a loss for words. Hey, and when in doubt, comedy's never a bad thing. And that should not surprise you that I say something like that, Shannon.
Not at all. Not at all. But I love what you're saying, because what you're saying here is know the topic and know how the topic is going to be reacted to by the audience. Right. And make sure that those things kind of align. So if you're talking about a super serious subject, maybe Disco Friday music coming into the room may not necessarily be appropriate. Or is it?
Disco Friday music should be inappropriate for most topics, like unless you're talking about Disco Friday. And
whatever.
Why?
Disco Friday rocks. I'm just going to put that out there. This is a safe environment. I'm going to say Disco Friday rocks.
Agree to disagree.
So what else? So when we talk about setting the stage and setting up the environment, I think what you're talking about, Douglas, is really important. So again, it's about, okay, it goes even further back than the warm welcome at the beginning of the event or session or class. It starts at the door. So how are we even then setting the environment? You use the word environment. So how are we using the environment to set the stage? What techniques are you guys using?
Not so much just at the door, but even before the door. So depending on, to Douglas's point, depending on the subject, I may, in the invite, put some things in there. So there might be some thought-provoking questions I give them ahead of time, or set some expectations about this is what we're going to be learning. Because I think sometimes, I'm going to go back to the sessions we just recently did, the title was not the expectation. So they saw the title, here's what we're going to be doing, or here's the course that we're going to be training. But as they got in and got into the content, it wasn't quite what they thought it was going to be. And for example, one of the topics was conflict in the workplace. But some of them thought it would be more like situational leadership, where we were giving them, here's some models of how to handle conflicts and different strategies that way. but they were hoping for, if this happens, tell me what to do. What are my choose your own adventure options, kind of thing. So that was one of the things they try to do is upfront, be transparent. Here's what we're going to be talking about. Here's what we're going to be covering. Here's some thought provoking. And sorry, my 9-month-old
okay.
named Peppy
Dog
has
sighting.
has made his way into the room. So anyway, so that is one of the things that, to try to alleviate some, whether it be anxiety or misconception about what we're going to be doing or covering. So
I love that. I think you're absolutely right. And that's spot on that we didn't bring that up before. We talk about communicating to the participants before they even get to the room, what the expectations are, and not in a teachy type of here are the rules kind of manner. It's really about using the tone, right? So the emails or the communications are in the tone that you want reflected in the classroom, if you will, environment. So and being clear, obviously, on course descriptions is always helpful. But I do believe that sort of communication, it all starts, right? It layers, it scaffolds, especially as we discussed at the very beginning of this, is that people have baggage. They've had, and I think it was you, Lillian, who might have brought it up, or maybe it was you, Don, I'm sorry, where people have baggage. They've been in classroom environments that were not safe. That, it was all about the facilitator, not about them, or maybe, there was people who are rude or mean or condescending or whatever, so there's baggage. And so now our role is, even before they step into the room, is to help clear up that baggage. So thank you for that, Melanie. And yes, I saw the comment in the chat. Do you own a horse?
Is it clear that baggage or acknowledge that baggage?
Oh, I think great question.
I think that's the approach I've always taken.
Yep. Great question. And maybe I misspoke. It is about acknowledging that baggage. Well, it in your head, right? You know that baggage is coming into the room every single time that baggage is coming into the room. So now it's, how do you work with it? Maybe that's more appropriate. We know it's there. So it's acknowledging it, not necessarily out loud, but in our own hearts, we know that it's there. So now what? So thank you for that, Felice. I keep wanting to call you Phyllis. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. I just think like the notion of clearing that baggage is overwhelming to me.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think acknowledge and tap into these strategies would be the way I would want to go.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Maybe you could have physical bags, like brown lunch bags or have something and just say, or tell them if it's remote, tell them find like a bag and just say, take a few minutes and everything, like the baggage that you're bringing with you and everything that's here, acknowledge it, put it in your bag. So it's like, okay, you're here with your baggage, but but it allows somebody to maybe to clear, go, okay, yeah, it's there. I mean, I can.
And that's a great idea.
I love that. And I love that for an asynchronous program.
Mm-hmm.
And then re-examine what you put in the bag at the end of the program.
Mm-hmm.
That's great, Maureen. Thanks.
Sure.
That's a wonderful idea. Totally going to steal that my next workshop. I think that's wonderful. Yeah, it's very visual, and and therapeutic almost. Where people can say, I'm holding this in my heart and I'm going to let it go. I love that. All right. Could they have an actual box or bag to drop that baggage into? Oh, yeah, they could. Thanks, Heather. I think that's a great addition. So you can have people, put it into a bag and then maybe put that bag into a box that goes off to the side. And said, now we're putting all of our baggage aside. So I think that's a great metaphor for that. Yeah, adding motion with thought. I love it. They could decorate the bag. We can have all sorts of activities. Look at us trainers go. We can have all sorts of activities with just the bag. We Dawn, what you had someone do a similar thing virtually, write down. Okay. And so what was the direction? So Dawn, I'm looking at your chat statement. What was the direction that you gave them or that your trainer gave them?
Oh, I was a participant in it. It was something along those lines like we know you're coming into this space and this is just a part of your day and just a part of your work. And there's a lot of things that you're probably stressed about. You know, you've got deadlines, you've got challenges, you know, work stuff, personal stuff. So whatever those things that keep coming up in the forefront of your mind that are keeping you from focusing in this space, like just write them all down. You know, are you worried about your kid at school? Are you, you know, have you got a deadline tomorrow and you're worried you're going to finish this report? Like whatever the things are, write them all down and then, yeah, just set it aside. And it just gave a moment. And like I think she gave us like 2 or 3 minutes to write stuff down. And it was just a nice transition into the space to be able to focus on the content of the session.
Mm-hmm. I like that. And then you could say, if you want to, you can always pick those Post-it notes back up and carry them with you for the rest of the day. But at least you freed up your brain space for this hour. Right. And I think that's an important acknowledgement. That's a really nice idea. Let's see. Lillian, to build on Disco Friday music, we have a trainer who raps the wrap up for some sessions. Oh, well, there's a talent I don't own. You know, but I think it is about setting the fun environment where appropriate. It's setting a communicative environment on the outset. So this is why I push when I ask, what does participation look like? What's the expectation behind it? Because again, words mean different things to different people. So when we say we really want you to participate, what does that look like? Well, it starts here with this, and participation looks like this, and we're going to do an activity that helps you understand what open participation means, what safe participation means. You know, and like you all have already said, it is about walking. It's about walking the talk, right? I think Lillian, that's where we kicked it off, and I think that's behavior modeling, and that's what's required.